on the main stage yesterday, she said once you go to Liberia, you attach to Liberia, it becomes part of you. And I think that I am a living, breathing example of being someone who has what we call the love of Liberia. So I wanted to go ahead and turn it over to Joe Matthews. Joe Matthews of ArcelorMittal. Arcelor is the largest investor in Liberia. And Joe was the first CEO of ArcelorMittal. At that time it was Mittal Steel. Everybody still calls it Mittal. And now it's ArcelorMittal. And so Joe, as first CEO, his history is the history of ArcelorMittal. So Joe, we're going to turn it over to you. After which, just give you a real quick run of show. Then we're going to have the ministers introduce themselves. We have a few distinguished U.S. government officials. They'll self-introduce, and then we'll go right into the Q&A. We have a hard stop at 1:15 because lunch closes at 2. Those are our instructions. Over, Joe.
If you don't mind, I'll sit down and talk because that'll also allow all of you to talk as well without having to get up.
I was just going to say I'm really small. If I sit, I disappear. That's why we put this here, so I can stand. But nobody else has to stand.
Okay. Honorable President, ministers from Liberia, officials from the U.S. government, and fellow investors. Good. Okay. So, like Reba said, for me, I worked for a steel company here in the U.S. before, but when what was then Mittal Steel tapped me on the shoulder to lead this concept that they had for Liberia, I went there in 2006. And as some of you that were there about that time know, there was absolutely nothing functioning in the country at that time. In Monrovia, even less in places like Yacopo, which is where the iron ore mines that we are mining right now are, and the port of Buchanan. So the one good thing about what we did is our presence in Liberia immediately sent out positive signals that Liberia is back open for business. And quite a few investors followed, in not just in mining, but in the oil sector and quite a few other sectors. In 2006, President Sirleaf had one little concern with us, and she raised that because as part of our mining operation, we also needed a rail and port. And she was not comfortable with, can we go back one slide? Yeah. She was not comfortable with that the rail and port being controlled by one company. So in 2006, we did an amendment making this rail and port a multi-user rail and ensuring that the rail and port remains a sovereign asset. In spite of various challenges, by about 2011, we did open up the iron ore mine, rehabilitated the infrastructure of the rail and port, and started shipping iron ore. The industry and infrastructure was basically dead for 2 decades. To date, we have now will have invested $3 billion by the end of this year. That is billion with a B. All of it is risked by us, and we do not rely on any multilateral agencies. Currently, we are operating about 5 million tons, and we have an expansion going on that's going to take it to 15 million tons of concentrate. So this slide has certain numbers. So like I said, 2011 is when we opened the mines after 2 decades. The railway that we have is 243 kilometers, and it's built to a U.S. standard. And the reason the U.S. standard is the best goods moving rail system in the world is what you have in the US. When the rail was, today we operate about 3 trains a day, but by the end of this year, we'll move to 5 trains a day, and each of the trains being 120 wagons. In terms of investments, 800 million is what we have spent in infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, it is what we call below rail. It's stuff that you cannot take away with us. So it does not count like locomotives and wagons, which continue to belong to us. So that's what we will leave for Liberia, when hopefully we'll be in Liberia for a long time, but that's we want to clarify that. And then finally, the last number up there is 2.1, and that's in a billion. So a few years ago, the US TDA did a report to show what is the industry that best helps US exports. And number one, or one of the top ones, was rail. And so if you look at not just the capital, but the operating costs over the next 20 or so years, we will be purchasing about 2.1 billion of US goods for our project.
This is my 1-minute warning.
Okay, and that's all I need. Last slide. Okay. So like I mentioned, can we flip to the next slide? So like I mentioned, we have a construction going on right now to make a concentrator. For some of you who know, that's a map of Liberia. The dotted line in the middle is the rail. We are going through a process right now of upgrading the rail and converting them to steel sleepers. The reason we're moving to steel is, one, we are committed to Liberia, and steel sleepers have a 40 or 50-year life compared to the timber sleepers that we had put in, which has only a 10-year life. The other reason we're switching to it is with timber sleepers, we had clips and stuff on the rail. And unfortunately, when Liberia, during its difficult times, has a scrap business that's been thriving. So there's a lot of people stealing the clips, but going to a steel rail, it's almost impossible to get those clips out. The other thing on this slide I want to point out is, obviously we have a port, a mine, and the concentrator we talked about, but it's power. I was just talking to some of you, even though there is the West African power grid is in function right now, it is not fully energized for our needs. So we've had to bring in, that's it.
Sorry. We can do this in Q&A.
All right, that's fine.
I am a harsh moderator. That's my job. I just wanted to give a point of context. The best advertisement for a country is the existing investors. And ArcelorMittal, as the largest taxpayer, as one of the longest standing investments, is here to essentially be a draw to bring all of you in because of the confidence they have in this government and in this country at this time. And if I let Joe finish, which I didn't, but he'll get me later, right? That the company is doubling down for the first time. It's going to be beneficiating the ore, and that beneficiation is going to allow the ore to move to the U.S. and Europe versus a DSO, a direct shipment ore that goes to China. So this is one of the requests of the president to make sure that the beneficiation, the jobs are created, again, 5,000 jobs needed there. What we wanted to do before we allow the president to take the stage with a short introduction, we're going to turn it over to the Dean of the Delegation, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. The Honorable Minister, could you introduce yourself and then allow the other members of the delegation to self-introduce. We have government members, we have 2 prominent business leaders as well that I know are keen to speak to others here. After that, we're going to take a quick break and we have some prominent U.S. government officials here. We have EFC, Treasury, Commerce, maybe others I haven't seen. They're just going to self-introduce to give a sense of who they are and what their agency has in terms of support and interest in Liberia. And then we'll turn it over to the president, and we have 30 minutes for questions and then break for lunch. Okay, Minister, over to you.
All protocols observed. And I said that to crack a joke from yesterday's plenary, where we talked about, as Nigerians say, all protocols observed, but as Liberians say, all protocols observed. I'm Sarah Besloniati, and I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Dean of the Cabinet.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here. I'm Amin Mudat, Minister of Commerce and Industry.
Good afternoon. My name is Wilmot Pei. I'm the Minister of Mines and Energy.
My name is Gerald Piat. I'm Minister of Information.
My name is John.
Can you get closer to the microphone? Is it working?
Well, so if you didn't hear me, I'm Gerald Piat, Minister of Information.
And I'm John, Senior Economic Advisor.
I'm Augustine Coney, the Senior Advisor to the President of the Republic of Liberia. J. Richardson Dalla, Managing Director and CEO of Liberia Telecommunication Corporation.
I'm Joseph Creighton, Managing Partner, Gemini Capital Partners, the only operating private equity venture.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Malcolm King. I'm the CEO of GLS Group and the first Liberian concessionaire in the Republic.
Ambassador.
Jeff Kumbuwo Duwana, Ambassador of Liberia to the United States.
Sorry.
I'm Alexander Nuta, Minister of Agriculture.
Ron Jones, Chief of Staff to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Okay, can I just have I'm going to ask Eric, mind introducing yourself? And Eric has a history in Africa that almost matches mine. His first trip. I think I have a record here. So in terms of American venturing. But if you could just introduce yourself, and even Eric, if you wanted to say a few words on behalf of the U.S. delegation, you don't have to since you haven't. I offer. And then we'll turn it over to Cynthia, then Alex, and also Dr. Joseph Sani of USIP.
Thank you, Riva. I'm Eric Meyer. I'm Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, responsible for Africa and the Middle East. And President Boakai, it's a pleasure to see you again since you've now assumed office. And on behalf of our U.S. counterparts who are here, we look forward to working with you and your team for the ambitious reforms that you have begun laying out, both economic and financial, which are the ones that I'm most focused on, but also reforms in governance, accountability, and in your election campaign, tackling corruption, all of which are critical to attracting investment and creating the jobs that are needed by Liberians to prosper and improve. So thank you and welcome.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia Griffin. I'm the Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs.
covering all of sub-Saharan Africa. I sit in South Africa. We work very closely with our embassy in Liberia, the economic team, to attract U.S. companies to engage in Liberia. And I look forward to working with the president and delegation from
Good morning or good afternoon. I'm Alex McDonald. I'm the Africa Policy Director at the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, TFC. We are the U.S. government's finance institution focused on providing investment in Africa and elsewhere around the world.
Dr. Simon.
Good morning, Excellency, and it's a pleasure seeing you again. And congratulations on your sounding democratic elections. I'm Joseph Sani. I lead the Africa Center at the U.S. Institute of Peace, and we are looking forward to supporting your agenda, making sure that the economic growth in Liberia will benefit the people in a way that reinforces social cohesion.
Anyone else from the U.S.? Anyone else from the U.S. government? Where is Sarah? Sarah, sorry. Over to Sarah.
No, that's fine. Good morning, everyone. And I'm Sarah Meyer. I'm the U.S. Embassy Political Economic Counselor. And it's been a great pleasure to work in Liberia with the Liberian government and working with them hand in hand as we try to work to get more U.S. investment in the country. And certainly with His Excellency's arrest campaign, which I know he's already made great progress on. Thank you.
Okay, and a bit of announcement. So Mark Toner has been sitting in Washington for months as the new U.S. ambassador to Liberia, was just confirmed last week by the Senate in a bipartisan negotiation. So we should clap. And he is headed to Liberia as soon as possible. He's going to be there. Right after Sarah, you said the Chief of Missions meeting, so he'll be there in mid-June, and he has a lot of energy.
I mean, he's very eager to get out. He's been waiting for it. So he is arriving mid-June, and just so you all know, it includes his year stint with the Peace Corps in Liberia, so he can get back to what he considers a second home.
Yeah, like I said, Mr. President, when Liberia gets under your skin, it attaches as an extra layer. So there's many places you can search bio to learn about His Excellency President Joseph Boakai, but maybe just a couple bits of storytelling. One is that this is somebody who came from very far away from the capital in the rural area, in a large family, and his parents were not educated, and through pure self-perseverance and will, he trekked his way without roads to the capital and was able to put himself through school. He was in school in Sierra Leone, he was in school in Liberia, and when he graduated, he dedicated his entire professional life to public service, his entire professional life. And so the president represents, I think, for us, what Liberia represents, which is the resilience of spirit and of individual initiative. And I think the elections with Mr. President in a runoff so close gave such inspiration to people on the continent in a tough year for Africa, where there were so many coups and democratic backsliding. That little Liberia led the way, and we believe provided the energy for the success also in Senegal, and hopefully a new wave of democratic opening. So, Honorable President, we turn it over to you to make sure that everyone here gets on the CCA trade mission. Since Lori's not here, that's her mission now. She's going to take a trade mission. And then we'll turn it over to you, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, Lee River, and thanks to all of you. Say good afternoon. I'm sure you remember the other person in this room with a heart, so you can ask who that person was after this. But I want to say I'm very happy to be here at this time and this Liberia investment opportunity. And I'm happy that some of the people we have around are those who have investment in Liberia. We are here to let you know that Liberia is now indeed open for business. But let me quickly say, I've born and lived in Liberia all my life. And I've seen what has happened to Liberia. And sometimes I wonder if one were to go to a country and did an investment and it was profitable, and you went back a couple of years after, and you look at a country, even like Liberia, I don't know what you would think about whether what you did, there's any sign of dividends to the country. So this time when we say Liberia is open for business, we are saying Liberia is open for business in a different way. I live in Liberia, and I saw the Mana River mining. I saw the Bethlehem Steel investment, LMC in Tottenham. I saw Yakipa, the Bong mines in Bong County. And today, if you go there, they are all ghost cities with absolutely no life, no opportunities for people, nothing to show that some investment was made there. I probably would say I will not blame the investors, but to a large extent, I blame ourselves. But I just want to say that this time, investment in Liberia is going to be an investment that will benefit the investors and leave something on the ground that we can remember. And I want to signal that to all potential investors, because the resources there are not replenishable, and those are the resources we need. Our children's children, those are the resources we need for the development of our infrastructure. And for all good purposes, you look at Liberia, you can hardly get anywhere. And so we are saying that we appreciate investment and we look forward to it. We want to appeal to all potential investors and current investors that it's not going to be business as usual. Liberia will have to insist on making sure that we get the benefit of investment now. That our resources that leave the country will leave a mark for the prosperity of our country. We're not going to sit and clap our hands and say, yes, there were jobs provided to people, yes, very good. But what do we see after that? So we're happy to have this opportunity to invite you and also to say to you, and I heard about ArcelorMittal talking about a multi-use of railway. If you build a railway and you leave just to serve your purpose, then what do we do with it? we're not going to continue to do what you did. We want to make sure that our railway will benefit the country. And multi-use must have defined rules, responsibilities, and governing principles that we agree to and benefit from, because if it's multi-use, then it must be multi-use in a way that all persons benefit, because the purpose of our involvement is to create an enabling environment, but our enabling environment should be able to enable all participants. So I want to say this morning that we happen to be here. I want to thank all of you. And I say again, Liberia is indeed open for business, but with a new look to partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Cynthia. I am going to turn it over to you for just an introduction, given your honorary role, and also maybe to honor with the first question. And I think while the question will be directed to the President, I think it's up to the members of the Cabinet to determine who best to respond. Over to you, and then we'll open.
Well, this is a bit unexpected, but I'm very delighted. All protocols observed, but just by introduction, my name is Cynthia Blanford. Thank you, Rita, for your leadership as always. I'm a former honorary consul for Liberia in the state of Georgia, under the leadership of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and at that time working with the Vice President, who is now His Excellency, President of the Republic of Liberia. Mr. President, for all of those who are here, Madam Minister, good to see you. Good to meet the distinguished delegation from Monrovia. This is my partner, Mr. Val Thompson, and as you know, for your agenda, your REST agenda, we're very much focused on three primary areas. One is tourism, and so as you know, we've launched the International Focus magazine in Monrovia. This will be produced twice a year to tell good news about this nation. We're hearing negative things, but this nation is ripe for good news. It has so much to offer. And we're very much focused on the African American community. When you ask them about Liberia, they don't know. So this is our charge, to bring African Americans home to Liberia. In addition to that, as you know, Sue, we're also focused on education. You're coming to Atlanta, and we're excited. So we have meetings already scheduled with Georgia Tech, University of Georgia, and others. They're ready to talk to you about how they can scale up scholarships for Liberians to come and study and go home and transfer their knowledge with their education. So we look forward to hosting you in Atlanta. And finally, airports and seaports, as you know, we're meeting with Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the busiest and most efficient airport in the world. And we're delighted because right now, Honorable Minister, to travel from the United States to Liberia takes 25 hours. It's unacceptable. So we're working very hard with Hartsfield-Jackson to look at an air cargo village. We have Peter King here with GLS and others. We're looking forward to having you and hosting you. So Excellency, we are here to assist you in any way that we can. We're so delighted for your leadership. So this time, sir, we'd love to have you talk a little bit about your REST agenda, specifically focused on airports and seaports, and also education. Thank you.
Talk about. Yeah, who's gonna talk about it? Who? Okay. Well, Cynthia, you know, we have you are here, and we've been talking about for a long time building the sister airport relationship. Somewhere down the line, we have not been able to do that. But Liberia is a very blessed country, except that we haven't made good use of the blessing. We have 350 miles of coastline. We have one of the oldest airports, and we have everything that you need in terms of green vegetation, 46% of the West African forest. We got some of the best species of fish, but all have just benefited other people. This time around, we want to make sure that those gifts that God has bestowed upon us will be utilized in full. And that's what we're talking about, making sure that Rabat International Airport will be not just internationally named, but indeed well managed. We want to see, like we want to see Delta there again, and we talk about that. We want to make sure that we want to see the possibilities of all our waters, the fishes that are leaving our country. And I talked about that yesterday when I met with some of the U.S. officials. And I like the concept of the MCC because it speaks to us. You have the resources. You have to manage them to the advantage of your people. That's not a big thing to ask for. And that's something we listen to keenly. So we want investors to look at investment in diverse ways because everything you want to invest into is there. And what we can promise you is that, like I said yesterday, we talk about corruption. But corruption, the investors we have attracted themselves have not been very honest with us. And some of them are investors who like shortcuts. So they encourage shortcuts. But we're going to deal with that because it's our business to make sure that we create an environment that will protect everybody in Liberia, not just government officials who may want to take shortcuts. And those who may want to take shortcuts, at this time they're doing it at the risk of their jobs. Because this time around, Liberia is open for business to make sure that things work for all, that people who live in Liberia also will enjoy a beautiful country. We can go to places because we will work toward building our infrastructure. We'll make sure that we make use of all the possibilities that build a good country. So, Cynthia, that's one of the reasons we'll be going to Atlanta to have that meeting. And I just want to say again, we'll be talking with our ministers who are in charge of various responsibilities. And the arrest agenda is simple, job starting the country with agriculture, with roads, and the rule of law has to be. That means we're going to make sure that you'll be protected legally. And then education, our country is behind. We all in aid, but we are behind on almost sanitation, which is also linked to health. I know investors complain about the social services, but that's part of the agreement, that you will invest in our country, in the health of our people, and that we're not asking for anything that is not legal. Of course, we want to open Liberia for tourism. I've seen countries that have not very much to offer as Liberia does, and want to make sure that you see a new Liberia within a few years. That's why we're going to set up the Tourism Commission to begin working with the diaspora to make sure that our country is exposed to visitors who I'm sure will soon change their minds about Liberia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we're gonna take a round of questions, and then we're gonna turn it over either committing the president, honorable minister, or the colleagues. I'm actually gonna use the prerogative of the chair to call on Dr. Yao as head of the Africa Center at the U.S. Chamber to self-introduce and ask the first question again. And when you ask a question, self-introduce, no statement, and then question. Over, please.
Your Excellency, President guys, Honorable Ministers, my name is Liberia Roundtable. I'm the Vice President for the U.S. Africa Business Center, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. As you know, we are the largest trade organization with presence in all the states, the 50 states, about 4,000 local Chamber of Commerce. I would like to know what can we do to support your agenda.
Honorable President, let me get 2 more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, anybody.
Okay,
Yeah.
We can take
We'll
more
take-
questions and
yeah.
then we will answer the question.
perfect. Okay, 2 more questions. I think I was suggested to turn a question over to the African American Institute. I know there's a delegation here talking about education. One of you gentlemen to self-introduce and put your question on the table.
My name is Kofi Penting. I'm Institute, and my question is, what's your message for young people who are in the diaspora and looking to see Liberia?
Okay, we take 1 more question. We have no cards to turn up, so it's show of hands. Please self-identify, ask a question, and then Honorable Minister, you can determine how to hold them over, please.
My name is Trent McKnight. I'm a cattle rancher in Texas and run a nonprofit organization called AgriCorps, and we support 4-H in Liberia, building capacity for school-based agricultural education and extension, working with young people in 150 schools. I know that agriculture and vocational education are both important aspects of your agenda, and was hoping you could comment more on what your intentions are from a vocational standpoint, vocational agricultural education, specifically working with young people to encourage them in roles in modern agriculture.
Yeah.
Minister, over to you.
So I asked the Minister of Commerce to address the question on from the Chamber of Commerce on what can be done, and I'll ask Mr. Nuta for the question on agriculture in Tibet. I will mention something on diaspora, and then the President will.
Thank you. Definitely, we should tap into the African diaspora. As the President alluded, we have the resources. We're endowed with the resources, but most importantly, we now have a credible government and a very progressive, credible leadership in a very progressive government that will do everything to welcome you, to tap into what we have to offer. And as the President stated, our agenda is focused on mutually relationships. So we invite you to Liberia. We would like to take your contact and share with you our resource material that will lay out what we have to offer.
Thank you, Alex. I know we have a conversation around this. The President is interested in using agriculture as a source of job creation for young people because our population is quite young. But to be able to do that, you have to have them educated. And currently, our national plan for agricultural development is focused on mechanization. We need to make agriculture easier for young people. So we have targeted creating agriculture training institutions across the country, or those who are already existing, empowering them to be able to train our young people So right now we have 6 community colleges that we are partnering with to be able to train our young people into agricultural technology. We want to also be able to use our vocational training institution. We started a conversation with the BWI, that is a top-notch vocational training institution in the country, to be able to prepare our young people, train them into agriculture, machinery operation, and maintenance, so that these young people will be the one that will drive our mechanization. We also have 6 community colleges that we are working with. We are establishing this community college farm so that the young people who go to school try to practice agriculture at a different level, not the subsistence level or shaping agriculture that their parents follow. So if these students build up the requisite skills at the institutional level to become master farmers, engaging in commercial agriculture. So yeah, we are targeting young people, both at the vocational training institution to do agriculture engineering, to support mechanization process, but also giving them skills to become master farmers tomorrow.
Thank you. In terms of, just to add to what Minister Mudak and Minister Nuta said, in terms of how the Chamber of Commerce can directly support us, I think one more thing to add is you can support CCA with the trade missions and share our message. We circulated some documents saying that Liberia is ready for business. We're showing you some of the data, some of the statistics to encourage you to come. And I think support us is to support all the efforts that everybody is making to make sure American companies see us as we are, not as they have heard of us. See us as we are today. On the issue of the diaspora, just to see the key message for the young Liberians or second generation Liberians, as we sometimes call them, invest in Liberia. You have many young Liberians now in the diaspora who are investing in Dominican Republic and other places, buying timeshares and so forth, wanting to see Liberia as the place for their investment. To invest in home is always home. And this, and just lastly, just to say that overarchingly, the entire cabinet is focused on ensuring that we convey at every level the central message. It's not business as usual. Come to Liberia, you'll not have the experiences that you had before that discourage you. Come to Liberia, and you'll find that we are open and engaged in a way that's credible, in a way that will be mutually beneficial.
Thank you. few years ago, I got up at night and wrote, "Think Liberia, love Liberia, build Liberia." We hope that people will come to invest in Liberia, be thinking about Liberia, loving Liberia, and together we'll build Liberia. As a matter of fact, young people make up 60% of our population. And the purpose of our coming to this position is not a presidency, is to produce leadership that will leave a legacy for the young people, to let them know that they have a responsibility. So they are, and we hope, like before, that some of the investments, especially like I think they use a vocational institution that was very good, produced quite a number of competent young people. So we are here to build the capacity of the young people. As a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons Liberia, most of what we have there, named after American institutions. So we have a Boakai, Washington institution. But we just don't want to name, we want to build them up to that. The young people, to build their capacity. I don't see any good investor coming into a country that doesn't have trained manpower already, because you can't bring everybody. And we don't want you to bring everybody. So we have a responsibility to make sure that we build the capacity of our young people so that they can get the jobs that are there for them. With respect to the chamber, the minister have already spoken about. We have one of the oldest chambers of commerce in operating in Liberia. Interestingly, as I said, and jokingly, once someone came to the United States and what part of Liberia do you live? In West Point. I said, sir, our West Point is not the same. So we have all these names, West Point and BWI. Want to build them up. Want to use BWI, raise that level to a technical institution to train our young people to produce some appropriate technology. And I just feel sorry for the Minister of Agriculture because he knows I've been there before and he's going to be on my radar because we have to produce. We have the land, we have the soil, we have the water, we have everything. When I was Minister of Agriculture, we never brought poultry in Liberia. We were self-sufficient. So the young people in the agro-business, we're going to build their capacities. We're going to make sure that Liberia will produce what it consumes and even be able to send to other countries. Mr. Minister, you have a challenge. And so we are very mindful of the 4-H club. It's just that all the things that were in Liberia before, we don't hold on to them. We had a 4-H club before. In fact, I have an NGO that may just be Liberia Career Pathway, working with the Chicago Career Pathway. Because there are young people who get to junior college level who don't even know what they want to do. We also have those institutions to prepare them to decide on what they want to do. So we are moving up to the task. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to turn it over to Joe Matthews, since we talked about
That's right.
and the social investment.
Sure.
And Mr. President, the quality of engineers, the quality of mechanics. Turn it over to Joe for a few minutes. And then just because we're running out of time, I think I'm going to do a run down the line and make sure we know who's in the room and everybody gets like 10 seconds. And say who they are, what their interests are. To, maybe hold many of the questions for their. So over to you.
Thank you, Reba. Your Excellency, thank you for mentioning the Yakapa Vocational Training Institute. One of the things we realized up front is you have to develop your next generation of manpower. And so one of the early things that we've done now is we've created a vocational training institute, primarily to serve as our workforce, but in the process, we will create, skilled technicians that can go elsewhere in Liberia. And the reason for that, and I will touch a little bit on, the President mentioned the multi-user part of it and how he is so disappointed by the ghost towns that previous miners left. One of the reasons the previous miners left is they were only mining the cream of the crop. And that has all now been exhausted. Actually, it's precisely for that reason that we're building the concentrator right now. Because Liberia has an abundant grade of the next tranche of iron ore. Unfortunately, it cannot be sold as it stands. It has to be concentrated. The good thing about it is the steel industry also needs to be transformed because there's we as a company, we've been committed to lower carbon emissions. So you have to make a product that meets the standards. So while the president is afraid that we'll leave a rail there and leave the country, I believe there is enough iron ore for 40, 50, 60 years in country. And hopefully around that time, there'll be other businesses that can come in, and whether it's passenger, but more probably dry goods, there's a great opportunity to build this dry port in Ganta that has been talked about. So all of this worked very well. And so we are fully committed to make that happen. And our investments to make sure that this rail is going to last 40, 50 years is just a testament of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So we're gonna actually do like the speed dating, right? We're gonna have, I'm just gonna point, if you all, if somebody could just introduce your company and your sector, go over to 15 seconds. Over.
Hello, my guests. Good afternoon. Excellency, my name is Nadia De Alfa, is the Development Director for SVD Electric Company. I work, SVD Electric Company is an Egyptian multinational company. We work for more than 30 years in Africa. We've been working actually almost all of the countries in Africa except Liberia, the reason why we are here today. And hopefully we'll be able to sit with your
That's why we're breaking for lunch. Nope, you can have lunch with people. That's why we're breaking for lunch. Otherwise, you're going to go over and there's no lunch.
Excellency, as I introduced myself before, I'm with the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. My name is Alex McDonald. We are very active in Africa. It's our largest regional portfolio for investments. And in Liberia, we've invested over $60 million, but we would like to do a lot more. We would like to speak with any companies that are interested in investing in Liberia, as well as members of the delegation. We've already had conversations with the Minister of Agriculture. We'd like to continue these.
You got a red card.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Mohamed Seri. I'm leader for indigenous mining, but I'm also representing Excalibur. Excalibur is interested in helping Liberia unlock their true potential in the minerals that they have. They've already done a study in Sierra Leone, and I think Liberia has huge potential in terms of other minerals that have not yet been discovered. So I'm in discussion with the Minister of Mines and also local to see how we can do for us.
Over. Your Excellency, open calls observed from Jasmine Roberts. I'm here with Birmingham Mines, we're INO Mine in Sierra Leone. I'm head of energy solutions and also executive board member. I'm here really to learn from the Liberian experience and see the synergies between the mining sector and the energy sector. So we're trying to look at different energy mixes to reduce carbon emissions, reduce operational costs, and also meet our security of supply.
Brandon Lynch, board member of Gerald Group. We support metals and mining projects across Africa.
Your Excellency, colleagues, I'm Daniela Porta, Global Head for Sustainability and ESG for Gerald Group. I was previously with the World Bank. I worked in Liberia for many years, supporting the mining sector reforms.
Okay, we passed people who've already spoken. Right.
Good morning, Your Excellency. I'm Kevin McLean. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for HBX Mines in Ivanhoe, Liberia, the future multi-user, the railway assets, port assets in Liberia, we hope, and the sponsor for the Liberty Corridor for the future development.
Your Excellency, I'm Val Thompson, I'm President of Houston International Trade Development Council. We are a membership-based organization dedicated to helping Houston area small and medium enterprises develop economically. We have organized several trade missions to the Republic of Liberia. We plan to do so in the future. I'm also the publisher of the M&S Focus magazine, with serving 3 markets: Houston, Atlanta, and now Monrovia, Liberia.
Tom?
Your Excellency, my name is Tom Sheehy. I'm with the Africa Center at the U.S. Institute of Peace.
Your Excellency, my name is Shagir Hakimi. I'm an international lawyer. I'm also an advisor to the African American Institute that since 1953 has worked to bridge Africa
Hello, Excellency. My name is Austin Cooper. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the African American Institute. I also know, sir, that you're familiar with Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. 1906, sir.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Excellency. I'm Terry McCulley. I lead the Africa practice at Boakai Associates, a strategic advisory firm in Washington, D.C. Helping companies invest in Africa, including in Liberia, including Pfizer.
Yeah.
Your Excellency, I'm Muhammad Atif, the Vice President, Chief Commissioner of South Africa Speedy Electric Group. The honor to sit with your cabinet and with the wave cooperation in Liberia and infrastructure segments. Thank you.
Oneself, turning work and
Any other private sector members on the back bench? Stand up and self-identify.
ID. Let me talk with Daniel Karma. I'll let you know.
At a time, we gotta move.
Hello, Your Excellency.
My name is Basila Joe. I'm the President and CEO of all the African more than 40,000 Africans from Liberia residents in about 5. Just here to find out how we can improve
All right. We're so out of time. Anyone else? Great.
My name is Lavarja Tijan. I'm a librarian as well.
Oh, which one? The one that got. Oh. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Anyone feel left out? Okay, I think we're. Oh no, she's with me. We're managing the time. So I think with permission, we're going to go. We have. I think we're going to go to 1:20. Is that okay, Mr. President? So we have 15 minutes. That leaves everyone 40 minutes for lunch. Away very quickly at 2 p.m. So I'm going to ask for a round of 5 questions and no comments, no observations, just a straight question. And allow please the minister to send it to the delegation. And again, any of our colleagues in government, Alex, if anyone wants to ask, over. So, hands, who wants to ask? Cynthia, all right, over.
I tried to make it to South Africa to Liberia for a wedding last year, and it was nearly impossible. So I didn't make it. So we talk about aviation routes and connections to the AFCFTA in terms of the movement of people. I still don't know how to get from South Africa to Liberia. Thank you.
Great question. We all have had our worst travel experiences trying to find that route. Next, who wants to ask, please? We have 5 questions. Alex.
So I know we've talked about a number of investment priorities, but I would like to ask, as the DFC, we are looking for businesses to support, and we would like to align with the priorities of the governments of the countries we work in as well. So what are the top investment priorities for private sector investment that you see?
Do we have 3 more? Over. Hey, one more question. Actually, I'm going to ask the quick ones.
Yeah.
Sorry. Over. Please.
Hmm?
Okay, and I'm going to take the last one, Mr. President, because I know that there were really successful meetings with the Alice Albright, the head of the Millennium Challenge Corporation. I understand that Liberia has now passed the scorecard. I think now it's 3 years in a row, and we hear that MCC is very excited about Liberia, very bullish. And so as we look at the constraints analysis, maybe to speak to what you think might be the priorities for the MCC, because MCC is always a crowder inner for U.S. investment. Okay, over to you.
Thank you. So we'll start with Minister Abimbola, who will look at the questions on trade, aviation, connectivity, top investment priorities, and I will ask our advisor to the president on economic affairs if he wants to add anything after. And then on tourism, Minister Pierre, in terms of her question was efforts that we're making to encourage tourism. I got that right? Yeah, efforts on tourism. And then digital trade protocol. LCA. Angela, please take that. And then MCC is the president.
I would hate to say that we have the same rules for answers because we're compressed time.
So thank you. So we're concerned about aviation and access to the country as part of our agenda to open the country. We've started several discussions, including Cynthia, with various airlines to see how we can effectuate that. In terms of priorities, our new vision, we're focused on building a value addition-based economy. So that's looking at all the sectors, the relevant sectors, agriculture, energy, mining, timber, responsible forestry, fishery, tourism, and technology. We can expand on that when we have the time to talk. Thank you.
Yeah, Africa is a very difficult terrain for investors. In our case in Liberia, what we are also looking at is to beef up our regulatory system so that people, the investors coming into it, they bring their money or when they invest in Liberia, the government is going to make sure that those assets are protected. And that is going to be a level for them.
So from the perspective of digital, I think you mentioned digital transformation and interest of Liberia in that direction. Yes, we are big on that. As a matter of fact, our president just last week launched a digital transformation program where we intend to train at least 10,000 young people at minimum. So yes, we are interested. We do have various protocols depending on your specific area of interest. We can have a conversation. I'm glad it's a female that mentioned that because we're trying to find ways where we can also improve programs for the women in those hard to reach areas. So we welcome joint partnership or joint ventures to enhance what we have already started to sustain the program and also to continue in the long term. So I'm available and we can discuss further after our own break or on lunchtime.
tourism, more about rebranding. And Cynthia, our team are doing a great job. We will complement, shortly we'll be launching a quarterly magazine that we intend to distribute in a wide network. But 3 weeks ago, there were about 115 tourists who visited Liberia for the first time in many years. We were excited about that. There are also challenges with our infrastructure, electricity. The government is working to resolve those. But while we're doing those that are long-term, I think the best we can do is to communicate well about our country because, we've been a war-torn country for 3 decades. And that impression is still on the minds of many people. And the more we communicate, the more we raise that concept of
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Okay. Welcome, MCC champion. I want to say that I think your question has been answered, but I'd like to say here that for investors coming to Liberia at the moment, you have to understand our situation. What we can assure you is that we try to do the best to make conditions possible for investors. I said earlier, for me, unlike a real politician, I'm not talking about the next election. We're talking about the next generation. And that's what we have to do. And so we will do everything possible to make sure that we leave a legacy for the next generation. And we have what it takes. We need your understanding. And we can assure you that our commitment to make sure the law is followed, to make sure that we work. One of our difficulties we can easily recognize is the infrastructure. So you will have problem with communication, but I know we can all work together to make sure things work. What I can assure you is that we are committed to making sure that things work, that we can work together for the betterment of your entity and our country. So I just want to say thank you, River, for being a long-time partner in Liberia, and I think we feel very confident that a lot of people. A young lady called me from Atlanta, I think last night, and said they are bringing about how many people from different countries for surfing. So now people are coming to Liberia in Cape Mountain from where they ministered, not because of you, but because. So we are happy to see that things are moving, and we just want to encourage you. Being sympathetic with our situation now, but we're doing everything possible to make things work within a short time. Thank you very much.
Okay, 4-minute warning because the president has already. So we have to roll. Cynthia, the best way to go from South Africa is South African Airways to Accra, and then you can take ASCAI or KQ over, and you can do it in like 8 hours. 8 hours. Just saying.
Coming here.
Yeah. I wanted to just turn it over really quickly to the 2 private sector colleagues. If you all could just give a sense of the scope of what you do. You have 1 minute each. And then, Glory, you were supposed to do the introductions. You were not here. But I took that responsibility. I committed you to a trade mission to Liberia. So but I'd ask you if you could make the closing remarks. And so we have 1 minute. 1 minute, 2.5,
Okay.
and lunch. And then everybody gets an opportunity to mingle, so you can follow the conversation. Over, please.
Honorable Observer. So my name is Peter. For those who were not here earlier, my name is Peter Mark King. I'm the CEO of GLS Group. We are an integrated logistics firm. We work across multiple sectors, including our clients ArcelorMittal that we work for since 2014. We have invested $25 billion in infrastructure over the last 5 years, and we are hoping that we will encourage all the Liberians from the diaspora to come back and help us rebuild Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Joseph Creighton. I am managing partner of Gemini Capital Partners. As I mentioned earlier, private equity venture investing, and I also personal fund vehicle. We are embodiments of diaspora Liberians investing in Liberia, leaving the comforts of the U.S. to tread in the grounds that a lot of people see challenging. And we have made significant investments. We've made about $10 million of investments in Liberia. 5 years. Private companies, operating businesses. It's not easy because to find money for Liberia is very, very difficult. And that is because the perception of risk in Liberia is a lot different. We are here to support the President's arrest agenda because all of those things in that agenda basically help us as businesses to build better, stronger, more profitable businesses that actually benefit our people. Understand that the middle class built in Liberia will be able to sustain the economy more than anything else, including concessions. What will build us is building businesses that will build Liberians' value and wealth that will stay in that country for generations to come. Help of the government, the help of private investors, BFIs, and all others, we believe, we know, we see it, and we are here to work with you all.
So wonderful, Your Excellency, President Boakai, and to all of the ministers and others that are here from your administration, all those of you who are here who are from the private sector, U.S. and African members of CCA and beyond. It is really a pleasure for CCA to be able to provide a platform and to be able to be a loud advocate, not just an advocate, for doing business in Africa. And what I love about sessions like this one, and I apologize I wasn't here at the beginning, is that many times we're dealing with people who say, oh, Africa, and they act like Africa is a country and not a continent of 54 countries. And I'm one, and all of my team, CCA and our board of directors, some of whom are invested in Liberia as companies, have to remind folks that each and every African nation, no matter how big, and no matter how small, is important, and that there are many opportunities that are there. You have to go, you have to do the hard work, as this gentleman was saying. You have to put in the time, the effort, but it will be rewarding. And all across the continent, from east to west, north to south, there are countries that are proving that. And so we know that in Liberia, sir, and to all your team, that you are putting in place the enabling policies and regulatory framework that is going to make it easier for U.S. businesses and African businesses to come and invest in Liberia and to lift up not only your people, but themselves as well in the process. So I want to thank each and every one of you that are here. I want to encourage all of you who came and are not yet in Liberia, but are thinking about being in Liberia. This is a show of the commitment that you have from the highest level of the government. You have a commitment that they will put in place whatever is needed and hold you by your hand. And I just want to know, we have the other hand. CCA has the other hand. And so together we're there. And Reba, don't be committing us to any trade missions, but truthfully, if we can bring some of our members to Liberia, we will definitely look into that because we know some are already there for others as well. So I encourage all of you there. Don't give up. Don't give up. We know it's hard. Don't give up. And for all of the rest of you, know that you have support. So thank you.
One final note, we have a video, it's just
the
kind of running in
head
the background as you
of
guys
the CCA, the Corporate Council of
And I just
Africa.
want to say on behalf of myself, the Honorable President, the delegation, ArcelorMittal, everyone else, thank you, we made it on time, you guys get to eat. And I want to applaud you.
That's the voice of everybody missing.
Share the video. Yeah.
Thank you.
What's that?
Not a single person left the room.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just saw this section on Invest in Liberia, and this is part of the US Africa Summit that's currently happening here in Dallas, Texas. And the president made a case along with some other ministers and officials of government who are here. So the Minister of Commerce, the Minister of Information, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Here you have the Minister of Agriculture and others. They have been here making the case for Liberia, and that is the president's agenda, and as our role to be able to inform the public on the president's agenda, what he intends to do for the country. And as you can see there, the opportunities, as always, after these meetings, you have people meeting and greeting. There are some Liberians. Those of you who've been listening, thank you for following the live broadcast crew here in Dallas, Texas, where His Excellency President Joseph Boakai has been making the case every opportunity he gets for Liberia and for Liberian investments. In the room here today, you had a number of different people. You have the Liberian businessmen and women here. You also have U.S. business individuals and people with interest in investing in Liberia. And as you can see, meet and greet is happening, photo opportunities. This is part of making the case. You know, when he got elected, this arrest agenda. Interestingly, there are lots of people who are aware of the president's arrest agenda. Again, you see photo opportunities. Everybody want to take a picture with the president. We want to thank the Ambassador Joanna and his team, and Madame Genevieve. You know, they have been Madame Genevieve Wood Winstead. Let me get all of the name right. And she's been really very helpful with the showing that we have stable internet so that we can bring you these, you know, discussions, these live, you know, events. And next now, and thanks to Riva Livingston and her team. Thank you so much, and she's been doing very well for, you know, organizing and helping to support this Invest in Liberia, and all those who've been behind the scene and making this work. That was the president and the head of the corporate council, the lady in pink. You know, she's the head of the corporate council in Africa, one of the key organizers. Yes, Africa Summit held here in Dallas, Texas. As we continue, the president is now heading to his vehicle. He has a number of meetings lined up this afternoon. He earlier on had a meeting with Pfizer. Remember, Pfizer is the company that produced COVID vaccine, you know, and they are really very involved with all this. So, on behalf of the OB crew here, I want to say thank you for following. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening and being a part of this. So thank you. You see, the ministers, we want to thank you all again. Like I said, we will try our best. On behalf of the Office of the President, we promise that we're going to make this process an open initiative, so to be able to speak to the public and speak to you all and bring this to you live. And on behalf of my team here, thank you for following and have a wonderful day. Joseph Blackie is on camera. Part of this team, we have Mr. Kessley, who's also here, and we will try our best. And our girl from LBS, Ms. Bashta Talu, is as well here. And we're bringing the office of the press secretary live to you, and to all of you there in the office, Lovette, the rest of the team. Thank you all. Keep doing your best, and let's bring the presidency closer to the people. From all of us here, have a wonderful day until you see us at the next event where the president will be participating over this. Thank you.